flowing past it down into the hole. The source was a being of pure power, its constantly changing body made up of magical energy. Its legs were those of a bear one moment and a giant chicken the next. Mole-like paws the size of digger scoops became razor-sharp claws, became clusters of tentacles that waved like they were stroking the air. Its head was a lion one moment and a pointed selection of crystal shards the next, but it always looked fearsome. It stepped out of its hole and ran one of its shining limbs down the crystal. The Evermore's chanting rose in volume, and the net they'd been weaving closed in around the source. It finally noticed them and howled, a distorted, discordant noise like a tornado blowing through a trumpet shop. Fran held her phone steady, filming the source as it turned to face the Evermores. Wow, that thing is so weird and so amazing.
It's certainly different.
Singar adjusted one of her sensors, her eyes never leaving the computer screen as she watched the data rolling in.
We need them to keep it there for a while if we're going to get enough data to redesign the trap.
They might catch it. Then they won't need our containment unit.
Let's hope not, for the sake of our profit line.
The Evermores closed in on the source, hands still raised. The net grew more tangled the closer they got, but Fran found it hard to make out the details. There was so much light, sound, and magic from the source and the Evermores that it all turned into a jumble. She had to keep filming. They could make sense of it later. Then something changed. Wings spread wide from the source's back, and the Evermores went flying. Strands of magical net evaporated as the whole thing burst apart. Winslow landed on his feet, as graceful and steady as a martial arts master in a kung fu movie. He charged straight back in at the source, hands waving through the air, spinning a circle of light. The source turned to face him. He flung the light at it, but whatever he'd been trying to do, it didn't work. The source absorbed the attack, then opened its mouth and spat a beam of sound so powerful that Fran saw it rippling in the air. Winslow dodged around it and grabbed hold of the source's arm. His magic flowed, shaking the source with a deep and powerful sound wave, but it flung him off. This time he splashed down on his back in the middle of the stream. Winslow's attack might not have beaten the source, but it had given the other Evermores time to recover. They were back on their feet, with magic in their hands. Enfield ran over to the fallen Winslow and gave him a potion from a pouch, while the others used blasts of sound magic to push the source away from the crystal. They were moving out in a loose circle, trying to surround the source as they steered it, maneuvering toward an open patch of ground on Fran and Singar's side of the stream.
That's not going to work,
Singar muttered as she stared at her screen.
How can you tell?
Fran tried to glance at the readings while keeping her phone pointed toward the source, but it was hard to take in both things at once.
The power levels. These guys are potent, but they're not as coordinated as their poses pretend, and that thing's an absolute beast. No way will they overcome it.
I don't know. They're winning right now. Maybe... The source lunged at one of the Evermores. As it moved, its body changed again, becoming a narrow, focused shape like the head of a gigantic arrow. It cut straight through the magic the group had been weaving and sliced into the shoulder of the Evermore, who yelled in pain as she fell. The source landed past her, and its shape changed again. Now it was a thing from nightmares, a hound the size of a tow truck with blazing eyes and pointed teeth. The savage claws of its 6 legs tore up the dirt as it ran up the slope, straight at Fran and Singar. "We have to help." Fran dropped her phone, raised her hands, and opened her mouth wide. She yelped, and her magic added to the sound, turning it into a concussive blast that hit the source right on its snout. The source flicked its head, shaking off the pain, and kept running. Fran threw another blast of sound magic